Hi everyone, welcome back to DevOps Made Simple with Dami. Today we're going to be talking about Azure DevOps Repo, a powerful tool for managing your source code. Whether you're new to Azure DevOps or looking to expand your skills, this tutorial will guide you through the basics of Azure repos, including setting up your repository, cloning, committing and pushing your code to the repository, branching strategies, reviewing pull requests, and some best practices. By the end of this tutorial, you have a solid understanding of how Azure Repo works and how to use it in your DevOps workflows. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on the tutorials like this one. Let's jump in. First of all, let's talk about why Azure Repo is worth our attention. In a world where collaboration is key, having a reliable and efficient version control system is non-negotiable. Azure Repo offers unlimited private Git repository, seamless integration with Azure ecosystems, and a powerful collaboration tools. It's just like having a high-performance sports car in the world of version control. Sleek, efficient, and particularly built for speed. If you haven't already, head over to dev.azure.com and sign up for Azure DevOps account. It's totally free for individuals and small teams, so no excuses, guys. So right here, I have my Azure DevOps signed in here. So the first thing we're going to be doing in setting up a repo is creating a new project. So there's a link at the top right corner here of the page. So I'm going to be clicking that. Let's give it any name, something, maybe that sparks joy. For me, I'm going to be using next big thing. And then you can also add a description. It's totally up to you. And so for the visibility setting here, we've got two types. We've got the public and the private. For the purpose of this course, we're going to be using the public. And in the advanced side here, we have the work items process where we can choose agile, basic, and whatnot. And then here by default, we have the Git version control here rather than the classic version control, which is called Teams Foundation version control. And then we can proceed to create the project. So if we navigate to the repos tab on the left, right, we can all see that Azure DevOps actually already created an Azure DevOps repo for us based on the project name. And then we also have a bunch of guide here, in order to, clone into our local computer. When we write, maybe make changes on our local, we can as well push it using here. And then we can actually initialize it on the cloud using this initialize button here, right? Well, for the scope of this video, we're just going to be using the clone guide. So if we click here to copy this git clone URL, we can head over to our local machine where we want to clone our repo into. So here I'm just going to write git clone and paste the URL which I just copied. Okay, so let's see. So as we can see here now, we now have the next big thing repo here, which obviously is empty. This is where it's saying you appear to have cloned an empty repo, right? So the next thing we're going to be doing now is writing a code, creating a file, writing a code content in the file, and then pushing it into the repo. So we'll quickly go over that. So right here within this folder, we're just going to create a new file. Let's make it app.py, enter, and then let's create something like print hello Azure repos. Let's save that. Let's confirm the file is actually in the repo. It's actually in the repo. So what we can do now, let's cd into the repo. Let's confirm we have the file in the repo. Yeah, we can see the file is actually in the repo. So what we're going to do now is git add. Let's do our git status to see if everything is all right. Okay, that's good. Now let's run a git commit. Okay, now let's run a git push. Okay, so now from the looks of things, it's like we have successfully pushed the code into the main branch. So let's take a look at it. So what we now have to do here is, if you remember, this was initially an empty repo, which is actually still showing as an empty repo. But now, if we refresh the page, we can see we now have the file in there, right? So let's take a look at another edit. Let's make another edit here, right? Or rather still, let's change this to, let's make a change. Let's change this to repository, right? Let's save that. Let's add it. Let's commit. Now let's do a push. Okay, let's go confirm if the change is now replicated on the cloud. Let's refresh that. All right, boom. As you can see here, the change is actually replicated here in the cloud. So that's pretty much how we can create our project, create our repo, create a file in the repo, and then make modifications and changes from our local and push it to the cloud. Let's say, for instance, we want to make a change within the cloud, or maybe there are instances where someone actually makes a change within the cloud. I'm just gonna do that real quick. Give me a second. All right, let's add a second file here, the second line of code here. Okay, let's commit that. Let's put a commit message. All right, let's commit that. In order for us to replicate what has just been changed here on our local machine, right, we can see our local machine has just a single line of code, while what we have in the cloud has double lines of code. What we can just do is run a git pull. As you can see here, we now have multiple lines of code. Exactly what we have in the cloud is now replicated on the local. So that's pretty much how we can pull code changes from our remote repository into our local repository. So what we're going to be looking next is how we can actually create a branch, right? So we can literally come here and then click on here to create a new branch, right? All we just have to do is put the name of the new branch, and then it's going to be based on the main, which means that it's going to be creating this branch based on the main, which means every file, every content of any file here is going to be replicated on the new branch. And we can also do that on our local machine, right? So for the scope of this course, we're going to be doing that on our local machine. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and do that. So in order for us to do that, we just need to run, first of all, let's check the list of branches that we have. Git branch. As you can see here, we have this branch name asterisk here, which means this is the only existing branch that we currently have, right? So we'll just, all right, cool. So in that case, we're gonna create a new branch and then literally switch into that. We can actually create a new branch and then run another command to switch into it. But for the scope of this course, we're going to be running a command to create a new branch and switch into that branch. So the command is git checkout, and then the name of this is cool new feature. So cool new feature is the name I have provided as for the new branch, right? I think I missed the flag -b. All right, cool. Let's check that again. Git branch. Can we see a new branch is being created? And then we can see that this is what is currently selected. So literally everything that is happening here, all these files here, this file within this repo here is actually in the new branch we just created, which is a cool new feature branch, right? So what we can do here is let's create a new line of code here. All right, let's make this, let's put a comment here. Q new feature branch. Let's save that. Let's add. Create a new branch. Let's do a git push. I don't think this would fly. All right, so this is not going to fly because we're literally pushing our code change into the cloud to a specific repo, so a specific repo branch which actually does not exist in the cloud. So in order for us to be able to reference it in the cloud, we just have to run this command, which GitHub actually has provided for us. So GitHub is actually Git is actually an amazing tool where sometimes it actually provides some suggestions of code we need to run to be able to, perform certain actions. So for this case, it has actually provided us with this command here. So this is what we literally have to run. Okay, so now let's go back to confirm if our branch now exists in the cloud. All right, so as we can see here, this is our main branch with the 2 lines of code. Let's check. As you can see here, this is our new branch, cool new feature. And our new branch actually has the 3 lines of code which we created here, right? So that's pretty much how this works. So in the next section of this tutorial, we're going to be looking at pull requests, how pull requests is being created, how you can actually, as a best practice, how you can, merge your code from XYZ branch into the main or master branch, because the main branch or the master branch ideally should be the branch that actually goes into your production. This is literally where your production based code resides, right? So ideally we shouldn't be committing codes directly into that branch. Rather still, we we make our changes in XYZ branch, create a pull request, have reviewers review the code. If it's okay, they complete the pull request, and then automatically it gets merged into the main branch, and then it's probably then deployed into applications or whatever is supposed to be deployed into. So now we're going to be looking at how we're going to be creating pull requests. So we can either click here to create a pull request, or we can come into here to create a pull request. So for the scope of this video, we would be creating a pull request from here, right? So automatically it picks up the cool new feature branch. It's going to be merged into the main branch. So this is the source and this is the destination. And automatically also, Azure DevOps is so amazing that it actually, based on what is currently happening, it creates a title for your pull request, and also creates a description, and actually very nice subscription and very brief subscription and title for your pull request. And here we have the reviewers. You can actually add anybody, maybe your line manager, senior colleague, or your colleague, right? So it's usually best practice to have someone review the code before it is then merged into production. So for the case of this, for the scope of this video, I will be selecting myself as the reviewer, right? And then I'll go ahead and, so here we have work items. We can, create work items, attach the work items on this pull request, and then probably add tags, right? But this is all completely out of the scope of this video. So we'll just go ahead and create the pull request. Now we have our pull request created, right? So the reviewer can go ahead and then review the changes that have been made, check the comments, check the file, the changes that are being made. Once they're done with the reviews, they can go ahead and approve it and then, complete the pull request. So for the scope of this video, I would only be completing this pull request. So once I click complete, we have other options here to delete this feature branch after the merge is completed. So for the purpose on the scope of this video, we're gonna be selecting this to delete this. So after this is done and then the merge is done, we will check the list of branches. We would see that this cool new feature branch is actually been deleted. So let's proceed to complete the merge. All right, so the merge is done now. Let's go back and check. Let's go into files. And then now we should have 3 lines of code on the main branch. All right, we can see that the merge actually happened successfully. We can check the history. We can check compare. We can check anything here. So now let's check if the cool feature branch still exists or not. Now, as you can see, based on the checkbox we selected the other time, we can see that the cool feature branch is actually, being deleted. So that's pretty much how, pull requests within Azure DevOps Repo works. So let me quickly share some best practices to ensure you're using Azure repos effectively. So the first one is adopt a branching strategy, which we have literally just gone through now, right? So use Git flow or a similar strategy to manage feature development, bug fixes, and releases. Write clear commit message. So it is very important to always make sure that your commit messages are clear. I can remember back then when I think it was an issue I was trying to troubleshoot, right? I was able to, and obviously I had a very tight deadline. But luckily for me, because of the very clear commit message which I wrote, right, there were lots of commits that had been done over a period of time, right? But due to the commit message which I had written, a clear commit message, right, I was able to identify what this particular change was being made, and then I was able to make corrections, and then I was able to meet deadlines. So let's not forget to always ensure that our commit messages are meaningful and very clear, right? And then also the last one is let's always ensure that excuse me, let's always ensure that we enable branch policies. Actually, branch policies is outside the scope of this video. We didn't cover branch policies, but there is something called branch policies, which probably I'll be covering in another video. Let's always ensure that branch policies are being set up on your branches, your repository branches and whatnot. So in this video, we have been able to cover setting up repository, cloning and pushing your code, running the pull, Git pull to pull code changes from the cloud into the local repo. We've been able to cover creating new branches, and then creating pull requests to merge your branch code into the main. And then also we've been able to cover our best practices. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for more tutorials like this. Thank you guys.